Way too early. 2025 mock draft Monday. Jalen Milroe goes number one to those Carolina Panthers. We're going to discuss this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. And you know I got to kick this intro to my guy, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with those LSU Tigers, man. And what the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, where we like to talk draft prospects. We like to talk draft philosophies. We talk draft strategies, man. This is the number one source for everything draft content. So, man, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I want to take this time to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. DP, some people say we crazy, man. Some people say we're committed to the process. I say it's a little bit of both, right? We have a mock draft Monday for what? 2025. Yes, we already moved on. We're turning the page, and we're going to talk about this. We have some highlights. Jalen Milroe to the Carolina Panthers. Oh, yeah, we're going to have that conversation. But, man, before we get into that, DP, why don't you hit with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Way too early 2025 NFL mock draft Monday. Let's get it going at pick number one. Now, first, let me preface this. These picks were based off of Super Bowl odds. So it's not saying that we think the Panthers are going to pick number one overall. Vegas thinks that, so blame Vegas. Number one, the Carolina Panthers select Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. Pick number two, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. At pick number three, the Denver Broncos select Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. At pick number four, the Washington Commanders select Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado. At pick number five, the Tennessee Titans select James Pierce, edge out of Tennessee. At pick number six, the New York Giants select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Pick number seven, the Arizona Cardinals select Patrick Payton, edge from Florida State. At pick number eight, the New Orleans Saints select Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia. Pick number nine, the Minnesota Vikings select Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. And pick number 10, the Las Vegas Raiders select Titora McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac, wide receiver out of Arizona. Keith, I know you want to start right at the top.
Yeah, DP, we could just skip everything, right, and go back to the top. We got to go to the top. I know the people want to hear about it. I have to hear about it. So let me go ahead and explain this. This is a collective mock draft, right? But there were certain picks that we made individually. And based on the Vegas odds, my guy, Mr. Damian Parson, he said, this is what I'm going with. Early on, we're setting the 2025 NFL draft class off with a banger conversation. So, DP, without further ado, let's jump into this conversation, man. Why Jalen Milroe to the Carolina Panthers? So, there's multiple reasons. I want to ask why quarterback, and then I want to ask why Jalen Milroe over these other guys.
Man, I think why quarterback is essentially, after trading for Bryce, they finished 2020. If they finished with the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, which went to the Chicago Bears from the trade, I don't know how you go back-to-back number one overall picks and you don't go quarterback. I think that's and also we just saw kind of with Justin Fields, where the second time the Bears, granted, again, the first overall pick went to the Bears this time, but the Bears had the first overall pick in 2023. They traded back and allowed Carolina to take Bryce Young. I just think if it's a situation where if they're picking one again, Bryce, I look at it like Bryce had to have played horribly, Keith, for you to have the first overall pick all over again. Like I think especially with the roster improvements, I don't think that they're the worst team or roster in the NFL like they were in 2023. I think they've made some substantial growth.
So this is Yeah, this is a if then
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
right? So if they're picking number one,
I
then you
think
feel
quarterback
like
is heavily
okay,
consideration.
okay. I can.
Number 2, you asked me about Jalen Milroe. Like, and
Yeah,
I
yep.
explain why I'm going Milroe, Keith. For me, like I like what I saw from Carson. I love what I seen for Shador. Quinn Ewers has some tools to him. Cam Ward is talented. I think the guy that has the best like overall package, especially from a developmental standpoint, I like my ceiling guys, is Jalen Milroe. Like, I mean, the arm talent, the elite athleticism, the running ability and strength. He showed, and as we got through the season in 2023, we saw passing improvements, being more on time, being more in rhythm, throwing with more accuracy and ball placement at times. Then I'm not gonna lie, in his spring game, he was impressive. Dotting, like throwing some dots out there, floating over underneath defenders, not just throwing rockets. He had arc and touch on some passes. His mechanics look better and cleaner. I just think that we're about to see. Spoiler alert: Jalen Milroe is probably my Heisman front runner right now. I'm just gonna
Okay.
put that out there, Keith.
Yeah, I have a question. So, is this a projection type situation with Jalen Milroe? Not only just going number one, obviously the mock draft is a projection, right? But I'm talking
Yeah.
about you having him over the other quarterbacks. You're projecting that when it's all said and done, Jalen Milroe may be viewed as the number one quarterback in his class because you have him going number one
100%.
overall. Okay, cool. Well,
100%. Yeah.
and I think that's a fun conversation because right now, I think if you based it off of last year, right, he may not be the number one guy.
No.
Like if we had to draft the 2025 class this year, right, he wouldn't have been the number one
It's probably
player
gonna be
because
Carson Beck. It's probably be
Carson
Beck in
and
Georgia.
somewhere Carson, Shador, and then
Shador,
he's
yeah.
in that mix under there. Cool. Well, DP, another couple picks, man. I see the New Orleans Saints grabbing Carson Beck, but real quick, the New York Giants with Shador Sanders, quarterback Colorado. People initial reaction gonna be like, "Oh man, the New York media with Shador Sanders." That's an interesting conversation. My viewpoint on it is they need a quarterback, right? They need a quarterback. And I just think it'll be interesting to see how he continues to handle things, right, moving forward. But I think the other part that is overblown is that he's been famous his entire life, right? He used to be on a reality TV show with his father. So I don't think anything that he does is necessarily to where he doesn't understand the context of what he's doing. You kind of get what I'm saying? And so it's just going to be an interesting conversation because I do think this is a prospect where he could potentially, he's going to rub some people wrong and then some people are not going to care. But I think the big city, the bright lights, I don't believe you're in different franchise, right? But you're not going to have the Zach Wilson situation where he's going to be nervous about, people talking about him if you have a bad game. It's not going to be the Daniel Jones situation where from times it seems like they mentally just go out of it. If he's not successful, I don't believe it'll have nothing to do with the mental stuff of playing in New York, which that can be a positive thing.
Absolutely, Keith. And I think, like you said, Shador Sanders plus this New York media, this is absolute cinema for me. Sign me up. It's must-see TV.
I'm with it. Let's keep going, man. We are on to picks. 11 through 20 from our way too early 2025 NFL mock draft on this mock draft Monday.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. I'm going to repeat that. Right now, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Guys, you can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. All of this on the app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. The question I have for you is this: what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet an automatic win. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Keith. With the 11th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami. With the 12th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. With the 13th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. With the 14th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. With the 15th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Takario Davis, cornerback out of Arizona. With the 16th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. With the 17th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Quinshon Judkins, RB, running back out of Ohio State, because he transferred from Ole Miss, so he's in Ohio State now. And with the 18th pick, the Chicago Bears select Walter Nolan, interior defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. With the 19th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Evan Stewart, wide receiver from Oregon. And with the 20th pick, the New York Jets select Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman out of Alabama. Keith, where do you want to start with this one?
DP, first of all, I just want to say, it's fun to see some different names, right? Just to see some different names out there, drive some different intrigue, things like that. But we know that that's part of the process, right? It happens every single year. Oh, man, I want to start Seattle Seahawks, right? Pick 11, another quarterback, Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. There's multiple different questions with Cam, right? Is he going to be able to consistently play at a high level? But then also looking at the Seattle Seahawks, because they have Geno, they traded for Sam Howell, right? And then you think bringing in Cam Ward would be the right answer for this situation. I wonder how much are they invested into Sam Howell, right? And like, because they didn't have to spend a lot of draft capital, but a young guy, you saying, hey, potentially could he develop, or are you all the way out on it? It's like, let's turn the page.
Yeah, I think, especially having Geno, having Sam Howell, I think if they're at 11 and they have the chance at one of these talented quarterbacks in next year's class, like, also news alert, guys, like, let's stop trying to talk down on the 2025 quarterback class, because if I remember correctly, none of you had Jaden Daniels as a first-round pick. J.J. McCarthy is a first-round pick. I don't know if we believe that Bo Nix and Michael Penix were going to be locked in top 15 picks. So let's just relax on, teams ran and drafted quarterbacks this year because next year stinks. That's not the case. It's literally a year away, and teams just panic because it's like, I can't walk. Sean Payton panic. I can't walk into the season with Jarrett Stidham as my starter. That just can't happen, right? So let's relax here. I think this group of passers, Keith, with Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Shador, I think this is a good group of dudes, man. With DJU, with a chance to kind of, raise his stock and different things of that nature. Walker Howard over at Will Howard, over at Ohio State. Yeah, I think if
you have no idea, what a Garrett Nussmeier may do, right? At LSU. Like, it's just
Connor Wegman at Texas A&M,
at Texas A&M. Yeah, it's still we have to figure it out, right? And I think that's part of the process, and that's what's going to be fun. And then that's why the old adage, right? We play the football games. But yeah, not the Cam Ward situation. I am very intrigued by that with the Seattle Seahawks. Is that, do they have their signal caller, right? And he's played football. He was at Washington State, so he's been, in that neck of the woods. But DP, I like two spots, and they're both AFC North teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers grabbing Emeka Egbuka, because I do think that they still need wide receiver help. And I thought that they may have doubled down on wide receiver this year. And then the Cleveland Browns with Quinshon Judkins, I think that's a really good pairing with Nick Chubb for a couple years. If you could get 1-2 years of that and then transition into Quinshon Judkins, because the boy can ball. He can just flat out, let me say the young man can just flat out play football. And I think it keeps the same identity for the Cleveland Browns for the next few years.
100%, Keith. And I love adding Quinshon Judkins, because I think Nick Chubb, coming off of that like really bad knee injury, we don't know what he's going to look like during the 2024 season, how soon he can actually take a full workload and play, and everything like that, man. And I know that they have some solid backups there that can kind of take some of the load off of him. But when Nick Chubb's healthy, he's one of the best pure runners, natural runners in the game. And if he doesn't return to form, you get out of Quinshon Judkins to this Kevin Stefanski offense, man. And it's like, let's cook, because this is a physical runner who can run gap. He's really good in zone, quick footed, able to as a running back, be able to convert speed to power is important. We're talking about running through arm tackles, running the alley, falling forward. And he also has breakaway speed too, Keith. A guy that as a freshman had 1,500 yards rushing. He had about 11 to 12 last year in Ole Miss's offense. And I think putting him in this Ohio State offense, we may not see 1,500 yards, because we got to remember he's also there with my initial
TreVeyon
RB1, TreVeyon Henderson. So he's not going to get, 322 carries, but what he's going to do is keep him healthy and keep both of those guys, especially TreVeyon, because he's battled some injuries. I just think that's a great spot for Cleveland. And the Emeka Egbuka thing, man, Keith, now you got Roman Wilson, right? You got Roman Wilson that you brought in the third round of the 2024 NFL draft just this past weekend, right? Or last weekend. And then you have George Pickens. Now you put a Emeka Egbuka to this. And it's like, yeah, if it's Fields, if it's Wilson, whoever it is at quarterback, like you don't have too many excuses for weapons. You know what I mean? Pat Frymuth at tight end. And you also have, we'll see what happened with Najee and contract-wise. Najee Harris in the backfield, Jalen Warren in the backfield. I'm just saying, man, like that offense will be pretty electric, especially with Arthur Smith being able to be creative with his pistol formations that he likes to run, get the play action pass going, the RPO game. He's going to give you different looks. It's going to put you in some compromising alignments defensively, and I can see some big-time plays in the passing game with that wide receiver core.
Yeah, and that's what the Steelers need, man. They need more versatile pieces. They need explosiveness. I think that George Pickens can be a big part of it, but I think it has to become more well-rounded. That's why, in this past draft, right, the 2024 draft with Roman Wilson, players like that, right, that aren't so specific in usage. And I always felt that that's what their wide receiver core was that it was. And so when I was with Joe Brady, right, at LSU, and we talked about wide receivers and we talked about, what wide receivers that we're going to recruit in the future, right? Because you got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. What was something that he said was that I don't want guys that only do one thing, right? Or like predictable guys, because I want to be able to move. I want all five of my players, or all four of my wide receivers, five wide, whatever you want to do, right? All my skill players to be able to do multiple different things, right? And I think that that's what made us so unpredictable at LSU, right? Is that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase can run any route, right? Terrace Marshall can play on the outside and the inside. And you slide Clyde Edwards-Helaire out there, and he's catching curls and quick slants as a running back, right? So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to go that route, and I really like them selecting a wide receiver. But yeah, this group of picks right here, and we still obviously have to get any evaluations. You got Calvin Banks going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Takario Davis, the cornerback from Arizona, man. Arizona's going to have two potential top 20 prospects, right, as slated now, which should be really fun, plus the quarterback that they have there. But DP, let's keep going, man. Now we have picks 21 through 32 from the way too early 2025 NFL mock draft.
All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You've already talked about that, but there is so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure, and there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent freezes. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it free right now on Google Play or the App Store. Download it free now on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Let's close out this way too early 2025 NFL Mock Draft Monday. At pick 21, the Atlanta Falcons select Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State. At pick 22, the Miami Dolphins select Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan, tight end 1. At pick 23, the Green Bay Packers select Emory Jones, offensive tackle out of LSU. At pick 24, the Houston Texans select Deion Walker, interior defensive lineman out of Kentucky. At pick 25, the Philadelphia Eagles select Danny Dennis Sutton, edge rusher from Penn State. At pick 26, oh boy, the Dallas Cowboys move on from Dak Prescott, Keith. They select Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. At pick 27, the Buffalo Bills select Jack Sawyer, edge rusher out of Ohio State. At pick 28, the Cincinnati Bengals select Princely Umami Mellon, edge rusher out of Ole Miss. At pick 29, the Detroit Lions select edge rusher out of Arkansas, Landon Jackson. At pick 30, the Baltimore Ravens select Travion Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. At pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs select Jabbar Muhammad, cornerback out of Oregon. And at pick 32, the San Francisco 49ers select Mason Graham, interior defensive lineman out of Michigan. Keith, do you want to start? Where do you want to start at here?
DP, there's only one place we could start. You chose violence with this pick. The pick number 26, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Dak Prescott guy, DP. I'm a Dak Prescott guy, and you chose violence. You chose to get my guy out of there. Nobody wants to treat my guy right in Dallas. I'm gonna tell Dak itself, pack your bags and just say you out. Say I'm gone, man. Say you leaving. Explain this pick, DP. We gotta talk about it.
Man, I was just sitting there on the board, and I was like, I could go with needs, but this is Jerry Jones's team. And Jerry Jones rarely goes with needs. Like, even in 2024, we talked about it, Keith, on the last episode. They took Marshawn Neal in the second, and you had some other needs. And probably the only reason why that happened, Keith, truthfully, is because the Carolina Panthers jumped him because he was running his mouth and telling everybody how much he loved Jonathan Brooks. They knew that he was going to take a running back in the second round. And that wasn't even the biggest of needs. So I just look at it, I'm like, man, I don't know if Dak Prescott takes a hometown discount, a home team discount. I don't know if he shouldn't. I don't think Jerry's going to want to pay him the money that his agent is probably going to demand, because it's like, man, you kind of left my guy out to dry, not giving them enough weapons. You traded with his best receiver. Then his second best receiver became an elite caliber receiver. But you know what would have been great? Having two elite caliber receivers, Jerry Jones. You know what I mean? Having Amari Cooper and a CD Lamb. That would have been great. But you didn't do that to him, right? You brought back Ezekiel Elliott. You didn't draft a running back in the entire 2024 NFL draft. I don't know what Jerry Jones is going to do, but I expect that Dak Prescott in his camp to say, man, we want money. We want our bread. We want what's owed to us and what we deserve. And if that's the case, I just think that Dak Prescott could be on his way out, man. And next thing you know, Jerry Jones is saying, I'm sticking here in the great state of Texas and bring me Quinn Ewers. Bring me my type of quarterback.
So, DP, that's the problem. I'm a Dak Prescott guy. I think he's a good quarterback, right? And people can feel how they want to feel about that part of it. But the pick is a good pick. It's a Dallas Cowboys type of pick, right? Like you can't get mad at the pick. It's an in-state kid, Texas, Quinn Ewers, flashy pick, right? Austin, Texas to Dallas, Texas, Jerry Jones, and everything they've done, to kind of show that they're in the middle with Dak Prescott, which I don't understand why, right? Because they didn't do this at all with Tony Romo. Tony Romo got whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted it. And probably very comparable numbers if Dak Prescott don't have better numbers than Tony Romo. But I don't like it, but I like it, right? It's one of those where it's like, I personally don't like it, but if you ask me a mock draft, I can 100% see this pick happening. Then, so that's the first thing that caught my mind. Second thing, Baltimore Ravens, Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. You just would hope that in Baltimore is not that type of team. So I just feel like if it was another team, another franchise, right, they would fall into this. Baltimore is one of those franchises where they keep football first. And so a lot of they believe in we win the games on the football field and everything else will take care of itself, right? But I think there's gonna be a familiar situation to people, right? And the J.K. Dobbins thing and the Ohio State from running back, and it's not playing out. I think the fans, and you talk about surface level simplistic, right? They're gonna be like, oh man, another running back from Ohio State. And I'll even go deeper than this, DP. The crazy part is that these guys comp to each other. They're very similar players from a stature standpoint. But I would say this, man, to Baltimore Raven fans and just a larger picture NFL conversation, right? We're talking about NFL draft. You can't predict injuries. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially things like that, torn Achilles, torn ACLs. All you could do is draft a guy with the clear medicals, right? And then whatever happens in the NFL or happens, you can't predict that stuff, man. And people who listen who've been injured before, I mean, you could be doing something routine for the 1,000th time in your life and something snaps, breaks, tears, whatever that may be. So I would say just Baltimore Ravens fans being open to the position because they can use it. And you're talking about pairing that guy. I just thought about that, potentially pairing him with Derrick Henry. That's scary season out there. But I like the pick. I just thought when I thought about that, I was like, man, I wonder how fans will respond to that.
You know what, crazy Keith? I didn't even think about that when this pick was made. You know what I mean? Like the J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins, Ohio State. I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point. That's a very good point because people are going to bring that up. Like J.K. Dobbins
100%.
couldn't stay healthy. Trevion has battled some minor injuries at Ohio
Yep.
State. That type of thing, 100%, 100%. Some people are like, DP, y'all crazy because you got 2 running backs in the first round. Guess what, guys? Because this class of running backs is just that good. Just trust us. Just trust us.
Yeah, we tried to
finish
tell y'all with the Bijan Robinson and Jameer Gibbs conversation. So, and then guess what? We backed off of it in 2024, right? We said this running back class is not as good. So, who you bringing up?
I'm gonna finish off with these 2 picks here, 21 and 22. For me, I'm gonna do what Terry Fontenot said I'm never gonna do in the first round. And that's draft a defender. Abdul Carter, I think he's got a real shot flipping over from linebacker to full-time edge with his speed, his explosiveness, man. I think this could be a big-time rise. And once we get into the season of 2024, the college football season, him playing full-time edge, absolutely. And then pick 22, the Miami Dolphins getting a tight end. You want to play press man? That's fine. But you can't do it when we got a 6'5", 6'6", 245-pound tight end that's probably going to run 4.5, and that can stretch the team, and it has a great catch radius and run after the catch ability. I absolutely love what Colston Loveland brings to the table. I just need Michigan to get him the ball 60, 70 times in 2024 so we could see that full skill set on display. But I just wanted to finish with those 2 picks.
Yeah, I like both of those, and it'd be interesting. And the fun part about this is that we still have to dive all the way into the prospects, right? You know what I'm saying? This is still kind of like the service level version of it, but we still got to dive all the way into the prospects. But it's cool seeing different names. It's fun seeing different names. It's refreshing. But DP, it's refreshing, man. Cutting on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with your guys, the dynamic duo, man. I am Keith Sanchez. That's my guy, Damian Parson, man. Listen, I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. If you haven't commented, go ahead and drop a comment. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure you hit the like button. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my co-host, my guy, Mr. Damian Parson himself. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we always like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube. Wherever you listen to podcasts, get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. And we always tell you guys, come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.